My perspective or objective today is to look at the religious implications of the 2024 general election, particularly from the angle of Christian missions. So this is a more focused perspective, and I do hope that many people who have been on the front lines and who have been facing persecution and hardships will be particularly interested in looking at the election results as I'm doing today. The elections were finished on the 1st of June, 7 phases of voting. On the 4th of June, results were announced, and no one got clear majority, which is 272 seats in parliament, the lower house of parliament called Lok Sabha. So we do not have a stable government. The BJP, the Hindu militant party, they were the largest single party with 240 seats by itself. So naturally, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi was invited by the president to form the government again with support from two allies. These were pre-poll allies. Chandrababu Naidu from Andhra Pradesh, who also he was in prison, and he came out of prison and fought the election and won the state assembly election, but also won very respectable number of seats in parliament. So he became the kingmaker. He is the chief minister of Andhra Pradesh, which is the Telugu-speaking country, province, and he is also the kingmaker in the center. Then the second ally is Nitish Kumar, the chief minister of Bihar. He has 12 seats in parliament. He was the chief minister of Bihar and the initiator of what is now the India Alliance, including with the Congress party led by Rahul Gandhi and Kharge as the largest constituent of the India Alliance. Nitish Kumar initiated it, but after the Ram Mandir inauguration in January, he flipped sides. He left the Indian Alliance and he joined the BJP-led alliance, NDA, National Development Alliance. So he has 12 seats. Together, Nitish and Chandrababu Naidu, Nitish and Naidu for short, on the N factor, together they have 37 or so, 32 seats or so, which is sufficient to give a majority to Mr. Narendra Modi, which has happened. But the important point, as most Indians realize, is that ideologically, Nitish and Naidu are closer to the India Alliance than to the BJP. Naidu has very little reason to be allied with BJP, but Nitish has several compulsions. He left the India Alliance for 3-4 reasons. One was that the national mood after the Pran Pratishthan in Ram Mandir, inauguration of Ram Mandir in January by Narendra Modi, um, won so many political brownie points for the BJP that it seemed to many people, including to many of Nitish's assistants, that BJP will sweep the government. And if BJP sweeps the government, he will be in trouble, like many other chief ministers are in trouble. Kejriwal, the chief minister, popular chief minister of Delhi, is still in jail. Uh, the chief minister of Jharkhand is in jail, and Nitish suspected that BJP will abuse its political power to persecute him. And besides, many of his members of parliament felt that they will not be able to win without BJP support, because BJP has a significant number of voters on its side. So there was a mutual need of BJP needing backward caste vote in Bihar, and Nitish's party, JDU, needing upper caste votes, which are pro BJP. So he's flipped and switched sides. The other reason was, of course, that the NDA India Alliance, the Congress party, was reluctant to make Nitish Kumar as the prime ministerial face of the India Alliance. So that's what he wanted. He presumed that this was his right, and that has in fact turned out to be the case. That at this moment, if India Alliance is to form the government, they have no option except to have Nitish as the prime minister. So, but they could not trust him as a stable, reliable partner, and therefore they did not offer that position to him. If they had, I think the percentage point of the vote share of the Congress India Alliance would have increased by a few percent throughout North India, as the backward castes do look to Nitish favorably. The non-Yadav backward caste, they consider him as an important backward caste leader. So, so not being given the leadership of the India Alliance, the fear that BJP is going to sweep the government election. 3, the fear that if Modi came back with thumping majority, then Nitish will be in trouble. He might be in jail. And the 4th factor, that BJP had the money to finance all of Nitish JDU, Nitish's party elections, so all the seats from where they were contesting, the BJP will fund it. And if you can fight a major election like that without having to spend your own money, that was a big temptation. So he joined the NDA alliance, Modi-led NDA alliance. So this is a pre-poll alliance, but it is going to be tested in 10 days. So when the election of the speaker comes up on the day the Congress, the Lok Sabha meets again for the first time in the new Lok Sabha, when they meet, then the who is to be elected will depend. The simplest compromise would be that if TDP, that is Naidu's party, if BJP agrees to make a member of Naidu's party the new speaker, then there will be no trouble in Lok Sabha, and we will have a speaker, and the alliance will continue. But if BJP wants to have its own speaker, and TDP decides to insist that no, its candidate should be the speaker, that's where the India Alliance and Nitish will vote for Naidu's candidate, and the alliance will fall apart, and Modiji will have to resign. So in 10, 11 days, 12 days, we could have a new prime minister. And the chances are that it will be Nitish, because uh, Chandrababu Naidu, although he has more seats than Nitish, he is the chief minister for the next 5 years, and he has no need to move. But Nitish, Bihar has an election pending coming up in 12 months or so. And Nitish cannot be certain that he will be the leader, the chief minister again. Plus, he has been a chief minister for long enough that before his retirement, and the prime ministership this is his last and best option to claim to become the prime minister, which is a position in history that most politicians would covet. So we have Modiji as the caretaker prime minister for now, and that could change within the next 2 weeks. And the alternative from external alternative is Nitish, because he would be accepted by India Alliance. Akhilesh Yadav and many others have been promoting it publicly. But though from within RSS, within the BJP, it's possible that they would like to promote another name, such as Nitin Gadkari. So there is an internal conflict going on in BJP, which is equally significant, although it is unlikely that will have a immediate impact in the next 2 weeks. Its impact will be long term, particularly because later this year in 2024, there are elections coming up in Maharashtra, where RSS, the mother organization of BJP, RSS is based there, and in Haryana. In both the states where the elections are coming up, BJP has done very poorly in the Lok Sabha elections, the general elections this month. And the chances are that BJP will lose both of them. In fact, Maharashtra can be lost any day if some of the allies of the BJP switch sides, which is very actively being pursued. So the Maharashtra government can collapse within days, and then elections will be held earlier. So that's the current scene. But to paint the picture for those of you who have not been able to follow the outcome more closely, but the important points where I'd like to focus is, first of all, the failure of the Ram Mandir issue, the religious issue, to capture, to remain the center point of the election. The plan for more than a year was that Modi will inaugurate the temple, and this will be a long drawn out ceremony with all the glitter of Bollywood and capitalist heroes and devotees from all around the country, and all the media hype. So that happened and it went flawless, except that the religious leadership of Hinduism condemned it as a political exercise, a cynical political exercise to use a idol, use a god um, to win an election. That traditionally you do not inaugurate the temple before the idol, before the temple is completed. You have to have the temple fully built up, and because of this, the several of the Shankaracharyas, the Hindu leaders, they kept saying that there will be, when you do this ceremony inappropriately, you release demonic powers. The not divine power will come into the idol, but demons will come into the idol. This was publicly said by a number of Shankaracharyas and Hindu scholars and leaders, because they know that what Paul is saying in Corinthians, that many of these idols have evil spirits. This is not something which is a myth from the New Testament, but you just have to go on YouTube and Google the demonic forces uh, in idols, in temples, and you will see the demon possession inside the temples in many places in India. So the Hindu gurus, Hindu leaders who were criticizing the inauguration of the Ram idol before the temple is completed, and with improper procedures, such as a Brahman leader who has been spiritually, religiously purified, sanctified, he should be the one performing this ceremony, which Modiji was performing. And this improper performance and with bad motives, this is going to create trouble. So many of them would see, if Modi government was to collapse in the next 2 weeks or 6 months after Maharashtra and Haryana election, then they would these Hindu leaders will be vindicated. But other than that, the fact that some Brahmanical Orthodox Hindu scholars and leaders were opposed to the inauguration of an idol before the temple is completed. The general mood of the nations was certainly pro BJP, pro Hindutva. But by the time election came 2 months later, that mood had disappeared, and poverty, inflation, unemployment, these issues became central issues. And the crony capitalism, where masses became poorer and unemployed, and a few multi-billionaire friends kept getting richer and richer and richer in spite of all the scandals that were being released. So this fact that Hinduism or Ram Mandir did not remain the election issue and was ignored by the masses, this is an important outcome of this election. That if religion is the opium of the people, then it is the opium of the upper castes. Hinduism is the opium of the upper castes. It is not the opium of the masses or the lower castes, have ignored the issue. So this has implications that the lower castes have seen clearly that religion is being used to get their votes, to capture political power, and to benefit uh, a small group of people, particularly a business community from Gujarat. And it's become a system of exploitation. Democracy and capitalism has become a system of exploitation of the masses. So this is a very interesting and very good development that BJP now has to compete with its rivals on the issues of national development, justice, and harmony. As Rahul Gandhi uh, traveled through length and breadth of the country, first time from the tip of the South India, Kanyakumari, all the way to Kashmir, and then from east to west, from Manipur all the way to Gujarat and Maharashtra. As he crisscrossed the country, first time his Padyatra had the slogan of harmony, that his message was that in a market of hatred, the BJP RSS Hindutva has spread hatred, cultivated hatred, and isolated Hindus from Muslims and Christians. In the midst of this market of hatred, he is traveling to unite the nation, or as he calls it, open a shop of love. In a market of hatred, which is what politics has become, he is opening a small shop of love. That message was powerful. It enthused the people, but the Congress party itself did not take that message seriously. And as a result, the Congress party in the state elections that happened 6 months ago lost badly, particularly MP and Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, because the older Congress leaders, they were not seen as part of Rahul Gandhi's new mission. That Rahul Gandhi and the top leadership in Congress had changed, but their party had remained the same, which people didn't trust and didn't vote for. And that has just been repeated in particularly in MP and Gujarat, that the Congress has not had the leadership in grassroots level leadership, including Odisha. So, but overall, the second yatra, the journey that Rahul Gandhi undertook from Manipur all the way to Gujarat and Maharashtra, from east to west, there his message was justice. He didn't use the phrase social justice, but that's what he meant, particularly justice for the lower castes, calling for caste-wise census, that we ought to know what percentage of India is lower caste and how are they divided, and what can be done to change their future. That now for thousands of years, India has been a victim of caste system, Hindu caste system. How should politics, which is built on the opposite idea of equal human equality and human dignity, how can those ideas that are meant to govern our nation be implemented to make this caste division, make some people low caste and untouchable, a matter of past history not present and future, that India should be an egalitarian society where everyone has equal opportunities. So this was his message for his second journey. And it again resonated with the lower castes, which is the vast majority, at least 74% of India. It had very significant results in states such as UP, partly because Akhilesh Yadav, the socialist movement, had already been championing this for 30, 40 years. So the Akhilesh and Rahul coming together became a formidable team. Now, it was a great pity that Mayawati, the leader of the lowest caste, Dalits, she did not support the movement for justice. She has been very corrupt. She was chief minister of UP 4 times and indulged so brazenly in corruption that Amit Shah, BJP, has a big file on her, a number of files on her. They can send her to jail anytime. And they use that pressure upon her to play the role of the B team in UP, BJP's B team. So make the election in many constituency a three-cornered contest. Now, what you may not have noticed, even if you have been noticing the results, is that BJP has 240 elected MPs, but 16 of them, 14 from BJP and 2 of its allies, 16 NDA MPs, were won actually because the election was turned into three-cornered election in UP by Mayawati. Particularly the places where she put up Muslim candidates, and she gave a lot of tickets to Muslims. Muslim vote was divided because the candidates she had put up were good candidates with good standing within the Muslim community. So they divided the Muslim votes, and there are at least 16 constituencies in UP alone, which went to BJP and 14 to BJP, 2 to its allies, which would have gone to SP and Congress. So Congress's real total in MPs is actually 224, not 240. The 16 MPs that it has is courtesy of Mayawati. Now, that is, in fact, the second important lesson from this election, the second election outcome, which has large evangelistic and mission implications. So, the first election lesson, from the religious perspective, the first implication of the election is that Ram Mandir failed, Hindutva primary card failed, religion failed, not casteism, the upper castes still voted as they tend to vote. So religion did remain the opium of the upper castes, but it failed to deceive the lower castes, and the BJP would have been in a much bigger mess after the election if Mayawati had not behaved the way she did. Her nephew, whom she was promoting as the national coordinator, and her successor and heir, Anand Prakash, he, before he started public speaking, he was not taken seriously. But once he started speaking, he began to be taken seriously. And he came across as a highly intelligent, educated, capable young man who could succeed Mayawati and Kanshiram, who was the founder who died. So Kanshiram and Mayawati can be succeeded by a capable leader. But when he began a forceful attack on Hindutva and BJP, uh, an FIR was filed against him. First information report that he is raising communal disharmony. And Mayawati removed him from both of his positions as the national coordinator of BSP and her successor. And that became a very bad disappointment for Mayawati and BSP and the younger people who ensured that Mayawati's rival Dalit leader, Chandrasekhar Raman, he won from Nagina seat. And so he has, at least morally, become the successor of Kanshiram and Mayawati as the only, yes, this is on the screen is Prakash Anand, who was first promoted and then removed as her successor. But Chandrasekhar is now the most important Dalit leader in UP who could get the next generation of the Dalit voters around him. He won as an independent. This one, SP, Akhilesh Yadav and Rahul Gandhi ought to have supported him, but they didn't. Nevertheless, he won, and he will be a factor. Of course, he has only one vote in parliament, but he will be an important factor in as a spokesperson for the Dalits in UP and outside, beyond. So he is a daring leader with a lot of young following amongst the, and the chosen surname of Ravan is very interesting. That when BJP has been promoting Ram, he calls himself Ravan, and Chandrasekhar, and he has a youth following that he calls Bhim Sena. So he has a militia of his own. He could, of course, be framed in some of the legal challenges and could be removed from parliament if BJP stays in power and if they are seeking to win control of UP again. So he has enough criminal cases against him for violence and this and that, so that he could be framed and removed from the scene. But at the moment, he has emerged as the most important lower caste leader in UP. Now, why this is significant religiously, that Bahujan Samaj Party of Mayawati did not win a single seat. It had 10 members in parliament in the previous parliament. She's been the chief minister of UP 4 times. She had, I'm sure that all the seats where she won, I mean, where she contested election, BJP paid for her. So she was, the BJP would have spent all the money for BSP's election, as well as for Nitish's election and some of our other allies' election. But so she had no shortage of money, and yet she did not win a single seat. What that shows to her Dalit base, which is 10, 11, 12% of UP, the Jatav vote, Chamar vote, what message that they now have is that Kanshiram, the founder, had given the slogan that politics is the key that opens all the locks. Politics is the key. Now, this is apparently a statement from Ambedkar himself. Ambedkar died in 1956. He is the god that the Dalits worship. So, this was his statement according to Kanshiram. But Kanshiram used that slogan that politics is the key that opens all doors to take the attention away from religious conversion. Ambedkar is the one who created the Neo Buddhism as a new religious movement. Buddhism was dead in mainland India. So it had been dead for centuries. 12th, 13th century, Hinduism had killed Buddhism. But Ambedkar revived Hinduism, revived Buddhism. It is not really Buddha's Buddhism. It is called Neo-Buddhism. This is Ambedkar's Buddhism, a very scholarly version. Ambedkar wrote it out as a book called Buddha Dhamma, the Buddhist religion, Buddha Dhamma, which is the Bible of Neo-Buddhism. Because Buddha never wrote anything himself. Whatever was written few centuries after Buddha. And Buddhism had split between Hinayana and Mahayana. In any case, plus many other fragmentations of those two movements. But what Ambedkar started as a religion of the lower castes is Neo-Buddhism, and it has solid intellectual basis in books such as Buddha Dhamma. But what has happened is that Kanshiram and Mayavati, Kanshiram started the very first public organization he started in Karol Bagh in Delhi was called Buddhist Research Foundation, and that is still used as their legal address in Karol Bagh, Buddhist Research Institution. But after studying Buddhism for a few years, Kanshiram came to the conclusion that Buddhism is useless, religion is useless. What we need is political power, not religious conversion. So Kanshiram rejected Ambedkar's thesis that conversion is the important need, ultimate need that the lower caste Dalits have. Their problem is Hinduism, and they have to get out of Hinduism and become Buddhist. This was the conversion. So this had been going on. Ambedkar converted few months before he died in Nagpur, launching the Neo-Buddhist movement. But he had, in 1936, so 20 years before his conversion, he had written a little book, Annihilation of Caste, in which he had sold the central thesis. He made the declaration, I was born a Hindu, I had no choice. I will not die a Hindu because I have a choice. And he, in that little book, Annihilation of Caste, he put forward his radical thesis that there is no hope for the lower caste Dalits in India except through conversion. Now, that message of Kanshiram, Ambedkar, was whitewashed by Kanshiram and Mayavati. So Mayavati did on and off say that she will convert to Buddhism with crores of her followers, but she never did because she had actually sold her conscience to to the BJP. And she had become very afraid that if she did anything like this, she would bring great disrepute to Buddhism, because she will go to jail with corruption charges, which will not be very hard to prove. So it will be proven, not just accused, but actually convicted of massive corruption. So if Buddhism is massively led by a woman who has been legally convicted and thrown in jail, it's not going to actually benefit the movement. So basically, BSP had downplayed conversion. Initially, it built the threat of conversion, but ever since it began to acquire some political power, it downplayed conversion and it promoted political action. But that political action in this election has led to zero result. That politics is not a key that opens all the doors. It is, in fact, a key that is keeping us in slavery. Democracy is being used by the upper caste to keep the lower castes enslaved by buying their leaders and intimidating and threatening their leaders. So now this is opens up the lower caste mind to return to Ambedkar's thesis that the only way to end the social injustices and to bring about the Constitution gives equality, but that is not the social reality of India. There is no economic, educational, political, intellectual, media equality. What Rahul Gandhi has been hammering, that if you look at this central secretariat in Delhi, all the senior bureaucrats are upper castes. There are no lower caste bureaucrats who have actual bureaucratic authority and power in India. If you look in the courts, you look in the police, military leadership, particularly, the inequality is prevalent. The upper castes have taken over the control of India, just as the British were controlling India before independence, or the Mughals before the British. So the significant religious outcome of this election, which, as you would recall, it was Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, Stalin, his son, who is also a minister, a film actor turned minister, Udayanidhi, he condemned, this is about 12 months before the election, he called for the end of Sanatan Dharma. The Sanatan Dharma is the other name for Hinduism, because Hindu is a Persian word. So Hindus do not like calling themselves Hindus. The thoughtful Hindu leaders no longer want to call themselves Hindus. They prefer to call themselves as Sanatan. Although Sanatan is not a Hindu term either. It's a Buddhist phrase, Sanatan, eternal. It's a Buddhist phrase, which at least is an Indian phrase, and therefore Hindus are asserting that they belong to Sanatan Dharma. And Udayanidhi, Stalin, he said that this has to be thrown away. The Hinduism has to be thrown away, which is the same as annihilation of caste. And so they have now, Udayanidhi's party, which is Stalin's party, they have won all the 29 seats in Tamil Nadu. And much of the attack on missions that is coming from Hindutva is in fact coming from upper caste Tamil Hindus who are seeing the transformation of Tamil Nadu. Tamil Nadu has become one of the best states in India, although it is politically deprived from on top. It has very little assistance compared to what it deserves. Yet the social ferment that has been happening in Tamil Nadu since the 1940s and 50s, and Dravidian and movement, that is a factor behind the situation which Marcia, one of our leaders from Tamil Nadu, she teaches in Bangalore. Marcia's chapter in the one of the new books, part of the series that we have been developing on how the Bible created modern India. She has a chapter on Kanyakumari district, which is the bottom tip of India, the southern tip of India. That has virtually Christian. It has more Christian than any other district in mainland India, even though that part of Tamil Nadu was never colonized by the British. Kanyakumari was part of Hindu kingdom of Travancore, Trivandrum, run from Trivandrum. So it was a Hindu part, and this is where you had slavery of the lower caste for the longest term. This is where the women were not allowed to wear upper clothes, and as a means of humiliating women and humiliating their husbands and menfolk. So the missionary impact has been the greatest in this part, which was never part of the British colony, and which has become most Christian, leaving Nagaland, Mizoram aside, northeast aside, but in mainland India. And Tamil Nadu took a very clear stand against the BJP. BJP poured in a lot of resources in Tamil Nadu, and it could have won some seats if the election in Tamil Nadu was not triangular. But DMK, which is Stalin's party, AIDMK, which is Jayalalitha's party after her death, and BJP, three of them were fighting against each other. And that allowed DMK to win all the 29 seats. So BJP came with nothing. And this is significant because although BJP has done very well in terms of increasing its number of vote share in Tamil Nadu, political power it has disappeared, and the a potential future chief minister, Udayanithi, he has been calling for throwing away throwing out Sanatan Dharma publicly, which politicians don't normally say. Now, the important factor is that Tamil Nadu government in South India is very close to Akhilesh Yadav in UP. So Akhilesh Yadav in UP, who is likely to become the chief minister, he's just resigned from his Vidhan Sabha seat, his seat in the state assembly, in order to focus on the national politics from Lok Sabha. And if in case, he's the main one who is pushing Nitish to become the prime minister and preparing the India alliance to accept Nitish Kumar as the prime minister. But the strongest ally that Tamil Nadu has in North India is Akhilesh Yadav, and he is also pro-conversion, though he cannot say the kind of things publicly that Udayanithi can say. But the fact is that if he came back to power, in the next. Technically, the election is not until 27 for UP state, but with the conflicts that is going on between Modi, particularly Amit Shah and Yogi, the Chief Minister Yogi, the conflicts that are going on in UP could mean that UP Assembly is dissolved. Thank you for that picture. That and we could have an early election. In that case, Akhilesh will return to UP and is very likely to become the chief minister. And he's the chairman of his party, Samajwadi Party, which he inherited from his father, Mulayam Singh Yadav. But very interestingly, his partnership with Rahul Gandhi has emotionally, intellectually prepared him to make a Dalit the president of his party. So that would be a open rivalry with Mayawati. If Samajwadi Party succeeds in having a non-Yadav, a Dalit, as the president of SP, Samajwadi Party, Socialist Party, then you have Kharge, who is a Dalit, and Kharge is also a pro-conversion Dalit leader. His son is a minister in Karnataka, and his son has become Buddhist, and he is an open champion of conversion out of Hinduism. So Kharge is a Dalit leader of Congress Party and is pro-conversion. Akhilesh, if he makes a Dalit president of Samajwadi Party, then whole of UP will have a very strong, this is after the state assembly election, said, yes, this is Kharge, and Kharge's son is a minister in Karnataka and a Buddhist. So these are pro-conversion leaders. Rahul cannot publicly support conversion, but the fact that this movement is building up is a very significant movement for the religious future of India. So here, these are my two important points as the outcome of this election. One, Ram Mandir card has failed. Hindutva has failed, except that it has kept the upper castes together behind BJP, but they are together not for religious reasons, but for social and political reasons. The call to throw out Hinduism, Sanatan Dharma, which was publicly articulated by Udayanithi, was in fact one important thing that you may not have noticed in the election, because this was mostly on social media, mostly on Hindi social media. The attack on Hinduism, which Buddhist young women, mostly young women, singers and dancers, they were repeating what Udayanithi had said politically. So there were lots of songs and dances attacking Hindutva, attacking Hinduism. Nisha Bodh is one of those girls. If you if you understand Hindi, go on social media and see her songs, her channel. But there were many other Buddhist young women, young men. The role of the singers in this election in North India has been very important. Neha Singh Rathore, of course, was the celebrity singer who was opposed to the BJP. Yogi Modi made a lot of fun of Yogi. There was a strong possibility that before Kanhaiya Kumar was made the Congress candidate in Delhi, that she might be the Congress candidate in Delhi. But the did the right thing in not exposing her to a defeat, but Kanhaiya Kumar was put as the Congress candidate, although he was from one of the 7 seats. He was the prominent figure in whole of Delhi election from the opposition, though they lost all the 7 seats. Three were contested by Congress candidates, 4 by AAP candidates, and all 7 were lost. BJP won them, which is another story. But my point is just the singer Neha Singh Rathore and these other Buddhist young girls. So the attack on Hinduism, attack on Hindutva, attack on BJP, which was coming through songs and dances, was permeating the mass consciousness in North India. And that's the significance of the friendship between between Akhilesh and Stalin. So what has happened in Tamil Nadu during the last 60 years is the likely future of UP, of Hinduism being rejected en masse. We've seen small samples of it, that at its peak, Yeshu Darbar in Allahabad, Prayagraj, Yeshu Darbar had 20,000 people coming over the weekend to worship Jesus and be healed. Yes, this is Neha Singh Rathore, who became the most popular singer. But she was not outrightly condemning Hinduism. She was condemning Yogi and Modi and BJP. So she was more political. But Nisha Bodh was the political, was both political and religious singer and dancer championing Buddhism. And she was not the only one, though she was the most prominent one. So we saw in UP the emergence of churches, thousands of churches. So one reason why so much persecution has been happening in UP is that although the colonial era church, the church which was established during the British colonial period, that church has become very corrupt thanks to liberal theology, liberal seminaries of Jabalpur and Indore and Bangalore and Sirampur. They corrupted the Christian mind. The seminaries gave corrupt leaders. You don't believe in the gospel, you don't really believe in heaven and hell, punishment and judgment, salvation and resurrection. So the North Indian church, just like some of the South Indian church of CSI Methodist, has been victim of financial corruption. The North Indian scene has been much worse. But while the colonial era church has been declining into corruption and irrelevance, the Lord has raised up a whole movement which began as a result of South Indian missions of Friends Missionary Prayer Band, IEM, GEMS, etc. The Lord has used South Indian missionaries, but also movements of the tremendous literature movement of Operation Mobilization and others, that a whole new church, which is particularly since 1992. Why that 1992, why that happened is a different question, which we don't need to go into. The whole new church has emerged. Some of these churches, which have no buildings practically, may have 5,000 people, 10,000 people, the grassroots. And this has been the factor behind persecution under Yogi. But this movement has, the new conversion movement in North India has now think, reached the point that with a weakened BJP and an aggressive Mulayam Singh Yadav and Rahul Gandhi and these young people who are calling publicly for end of Hinduism, a religious movement throughout North India is what I see inherent, one of the long-term implications of these political changes. So I think, now this is not to say that we will not continue to see persecution in Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, where BJP has become very strong and you still have double engine government. Bihar has been a different scene, and during Q&A, if you want to raise the question of why there is very little persecution in Bihar, we can do that. That is a legacy of Lalu Yadav, which has been continued by Nitish Kumar. So Nitish has never been anti-Christian, anti-conversion, or anti-Muslim, although he's allied with the BJP. So as I see it, this implication has had very important tool of preparing the ground for religious transformation of India. You know, as a result of the whole evangelical missiology, we tend to think that success of missions depend upon how spiritual is the evangelist, how much he's fasting and praying and filled with the Spirit, etc., which is all necessary and true. And I'll be talking about it next month in a convention in New Jersey. But in the parable of the sower, the important factor for harvest is the soil. The rocky soil, the bushy soil, it doesn't produce the kind of harvest that the good soil produces. To prepare the soil, to take out the rocks, to take out the weeds, that is often what God uses, politics and education and economic factors, wars, to prepare the soil. That is what the Ramaswamy Nayakar's movement did in Tamil Nadu, to prepare the soil in which once Congress as a Brahminical party was thrown out politically, and Annadurai, the Tamil party, won Tamil Nadu. That is when the tremendous grassroots movement emerged in Tamil Nadu. And something similar happened in the Telugu-speaking Andhra, which is now Andhra and Telangana, but not that dramatically, but slowly. But the fires began in Tamil Nadu because of political overthrow of the Congress party, which was Brahminical party at that point. Now, Rahul has moved away from the Brahminical past of Congress, but not all its leaders, the grassroots, have done that. And that's the conflict which Rahul and Priyanka and Kharge have to resolve in the next few months, particularly in MP and Odisha and Rajasthan. They have to give a new leadership to Congress which shares their perspective for human equality, human dignity, and justice. So, but I should close now and open up for any questions and discussion. The summary is that Hindu voters in North India have rejected Hindutva. That's one message of this election. Second message of this election is that political Dalit movement which saw politics as the key to open all locks. That has collapsed. That leaves the room for conversion, because the attack on Hinduism was a very significant undercurrent in this election, particularly in Hindi social media. Now, where is this going? It's possible that Modiji will cease being the Prime Minister of India in the next 2 weeks. And it seems to me that the best available option right now is Nitish Kumar. It's possible that Modi will continue until Maharashtra and Haryana elections, though many people within the RSS would want to remove him in order to save these states because of the tensions between RSS and BJP. But we don't need to consider that right now. I'll leave that for Q&A. So let me stop and hand over back to Prasant.
Is he there?
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Vishal, for this very exhaustive tour of Indian politics in the last several decades. And well, floor is open to questions. Those who are, so there's already a question typed by Ketan J. Christie. Do explain UP's lowest caste reaction to Modi's call for 400 seats in order to change the constitution. Persuading the lowest castes about the impact of Bible on the Constitution of India would facilitate their coming to the Lord Jesus.
Yes, thank you. That's a very important and helpful observation, that we cannot continue to do evangelism as we have been doing, of a message of people going to heaven, that if you believe in Jesus, you won't go to hell, you go to heaven. But the lower castes want to be delivered from the hell that Hinduism has created in India. They are looking for justice, they are looking for dignity, they are looking for transformation. Because the corruption of the BJP it's not just corrupting the enforcement directorate or intelligence or police, but judicially has been corrupted. The fact that people unjustly arrested cannot get bail, and they have to go to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court has complained about this, that the lower castes are not giving, lower courts are not giving the bails, which is their responsibility. They are afraid of local politicians. So the transformation of the nation, which is really the heart of the India Research Group, and many of you have helped create the content. We have enough content for at least three volumes, but we've not had the time or a person to put those books together. So that's is what this question is saying, that the message that we need to send out, particularly to the thinking lower castes, is how the Constitution, which they love, is a product of the Bible. And pre-Aristotle has done 2 chapters, one on the Bible and law, and one on the Bible, that is Bible and Indian Penal Code, and the other on Bible and Constitution. And we are still really waiting for manpower to begin to do this. And but as this persuade, but positively, what is happening is that the books are now being translated into Indian languages. My books, I don't know if Babu's book is being translated, but it should be translated. So the Malayalam version is almost ready. and Dr. Babu Varghese, who is here with us, he's writing the foreword to it, and Daniel Thomas is overseeing the final revision of that. Telugu translation of William Carey is ready, and I think Truth and Transformation Tamil translation is ready. Euler is coordinating all of this. We really need the William Carey book in Bengali and all of them in Hindi, and any help that you can give would be necessary. Then we can take the content and simplify it for the tract level, booklet level. But let's have this content, which we easily have 1,000 pages ready. If we did 3 volumes of 300 page each, roughly, we can begin to move. And this is necessary to educate the evangelists on the ground, which the people who are doing wonderful job at great cost. It is the frontline evangelists who are paying for evangelism, um, being persecuted, being beaten up, being arrested. The day before yesterday, a whole church was arrested in Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh still has double engine government, BJP in the center and BJP in the state. And that has led to the persecution of an entire church. I think it was Brethren Church, where they were forced to sign that they will not remain Christians anymore. These were all new converts. So, but we need to supply material for this political process, which is a gift of the gospel to India. India doesn't know. Christian leadership doesn't know. Seminaries do not know what the Lord has done to bless India. So I'll stop there by agreeing with Ketan's question and comment.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Vishal. Any more further questions or comments? There's a comment in the chat box. In my state, by Surya, in my state, Andhra Pradesh, where YS Jagan Reddy worked as pro-poor, downtrodden, and want to uplift the status of poor, and declared the election of 2024 as the one between the rich and the poor. But he was defeated very badly in the face of one of the worst defeats of the Andhra Pradesh history. How do we see this in spite of the 5-year education, uh, propaganda, and evangelism? Ultimately, the upper caste won.
Well, I have not followed the Andhra election closely enough. I know some of his relatives, Jagan Reddy's relatives, and I think Chandrababu Naidu is very keen to send him to jail. So his condition could worsen. But how he handles that opposition and persecution would be very important, because Rahul Gandhi faced a lot of opposition and persecution for last 20 years or so. And the Gandhi family has emerged. And if Jagan Reddy is now being forced to take up his cross, assuming everything that you say in the question is correct, and he now has to take up his cross, that's I hope he does it well and he becomes a more holy, godly leader. So I'm very sympathetic to him, but Chandrababu Naidu is blaming him and Amit Shah for his own arrests. So Chandrababu has come out of prison and become the chief minister of Andhra and the kingmaker of India. Jagan Reddy could do that next time.
Yes. Dr. Babur, yes, would you like to comment or have Q&A updates on your travels or across the. Yes. Dr. Babu Varghese.
Hey, Vishal, I have a question for you.
Yes.
In my mind, the most profound thing that I heard, you said so much, super interesting stuff. But the most profound was you had talked about the importance of the ground and preparing the ground. And can you kind of like outline for us the strategy that you have been using to prepare the ground in India and how we as your people might support that kind of strategy? Like this is so profound what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sure. Why don't I let Babu speak first, since he's come online, and then I'll respond.
Yeah.
Babu.
Vishal, can you just explain a little, then I will follow you, please.
Yes. The if I look at the history of, particularly, I mentioned in passing that the new evangelistic movement in North India began in 1992. The background of it was that about 300 Dalits had become Muslims in Tamil Nadu in a mass conversion event, which at that time, Jan Sangh, the BJP's older version, said that this is petrodollars. Saudi Arabia is earning a lot of money through petrol, selling petroleum, and they are using this money for Wahhabi Islam, building mosques all over the world. They're building mosques in India, and they are using this money to buy lower caste converts. This is what has happened. So Jan Sangh Hindutva decided to use that event to oppose Mrs. Gandhi. Indira Gandhi was leading in India, North India, India and government, that Gandhi's Congress policies of appeasement of minorities, of allowing evangelism, allowing Muslim evangelism, Christian evangelism, this is the root of the problem. If we have to save Hinduism, we have to get rid of Indira Gandhi. So they called for a big conference in a 5-star convention center in Delhi to bring Hindu saints and Hindu politicians together. And at that time, Mrs. Gandhi's one of her important ministers was Jagjeevan Ram, himself a Dalit. She asked Jagjeevan Ram to handle this case. Jagjeevan Ram called the district collector of Tamil Nadu and asked him that, is this true that these people have become Muslims because money is pouring in from Saudi Arabia? And the collector said, no, these people have been complaining for decades that they are not allowed to drink water from the public well, the public pond. Buffaloes and dogs swim in that pond, but the lower caste people are not allowed to take water from there. And nobody has listened to them. They've realized that Hinduism has made them lower than animals. And Muslims take water from that pond. So if they become Muslims, they will have access to water. So this was one of the 20, 30 reasons why the lower caste, the Dalits, decided to become Muslims. So Jagjeevan Ram called some young men from lower caste young men from Delhi University and asked them to go into the meeting of these Hindu saints in a 5-star convention center and challenge them that before you want, the call was to ban conversion. Before you ban conversion, which is the only way we have to become human beings, you have to ban Manusmriti, you have to ban casteism, you have to ban untouchability. On 14th of April, I think the two big rallies happened. One was the Hindu rally calling for to stop conversion. The other was the burn Manusmriti, burn Brahman, end Brahmanism. This was the other rally that happened in Karol Bagh. This was the beginning of the ferment in North India. Jagjeevan Ram started funding these young people. And out of that came the Bharatiya Dalit Sahitya Academy. That Bharatiya Dalit Sahitya Academy has been, in terms of literature, the most productive Indian literary movement. Christianity brought all the literature, all the publishing to India, but Christian publishing died. The Brethren movement tried to save the publishing through GLS, MSS, ELS, etc. But the mainstream Christian movement was not interested in writing, publishing, supporting publishers, supporting writers, etc. But for every single book that a Christian has published during the last 30 years, I would say the Dalits have published maybe 100 books. The mass literary movement, a lot of these are very simple books, booklets, etc. So the literary movement amongst the lower castes is what created the climate for conversion in North India. And 92 became significant because that was a time for a brief period when there was president rule in UP, and I think Mayawati was the acting chief minister. So suddenly the conversion movement erupted. So my answer to George's question, that God has used, I can go on elaborating the background. I'm not very sure about Andhra Pradesh, but Tamil Nadu, what happened in Tamil Nadu and what happened in North India, that I have a little better understanding, that preparing the soil and removing the rocks and the thorns and the bushes which politicians and Hindutva has put up, that is an important aspect, preparation for the sowing of seed and the seed becoming plants and bearing fruit. And that is, I think, the part of this India Research 75 is an attempt to create trigger a Christian literary renaissance. So the fact that we are talking about election, not all my points may be correct, they might not be the most significant outcomes of this election, but the fact that a group of us are meeting together to have a Christian view of politics and what has happened in this election is a way to get the church thinking and writing and expressing itself. There is a lot of very good Christians singing, poetry, dancing that is emerging, but that has very poor social cutting edge compared to what the Buddhists have. So our people are still celebrating heaven, but celebrating and transforming the earth. That our musicians are not doing, our singers and dancers and playwrights are not doing. So that is the kind of literary renaissance, which includes music and dancing and drama. That is what we are trying to trigger off through this. Yeah, over to you, Babu.
George, can you just repeat your question again, please?
Well, Okay, Vishal was talking about the importance of preparing the ground, and he just kind of like talked about way more than I understood. But I know that he has been writing and seeking to influence people in India, actually all around the world, to get them to have a different understanding so that the ground is prepared for them to turn from the Hinduism to actually to Jesus. But like how like I asked if he could maybe explain how what he's been doing, but also he explained more of what's been the historical situation, and in particular how we as Christians, or okay, I'm in Canada, so I can't do very much, but how Christians can be more focusing on preparing the ground rather than just telling people you get saved and go to heaven. So does that kind of tell you sort of the question, like, how can we do this? How can we prepare the ground in India? Is there a strategy, an overall strategy we can come up with? I know Michelle did say something about it. Maybe you can add to it.
Yeah, see, there is a very good movement of a lot of people turning to Christ even amidst persecution today.
Okay.
As you said, we have a 2000 years of history. Though the impact has been on a very minority level, on a smaller way, yet the power of the gospel among the communities, especially of the lower caste and the marginalized and the exploited, has been a historical fact. So, over the years, the repetitive communication of the gospel through Catholic social services, evangelistic services, we have been witnessing. So, that has been the preparation. But the evangelistic movement, the Protestant movement, which also added to the schools and and schools and health institutes, social services, that all have been ways for communicating the gospel. See, the impact of the socio-economic investment that the Christians have done in this country also has been a preparation ground. Then, as Vishal just said, the exploitation of the upper caste of the lower caste, denying them fundamental human rights because of the investment the Christians did to enlighten and empower the lower caste, that also paved the way for these lower caste to listen to the gospel. So it is simultaneously going on, preparation and also sowing the seed of the gospel. It's going on together, and that's why we could see the result. Now, just now, yesterday onwards, we have been listening to, I've been getting telephone calls from Bastar district in Chhattisgarh. Even today, hundreds of Christians are being attacked regularly in the tribal areas. Yet they are standing for truth. But there has been a lot of compulsion for them for Ghar Vapasi, to go back to the old religion. So it goes on. But I would say that even amidst this persecution, the propagation of the gospel is continuing. The good services, social services of the Christians in the communities also is going well. I think India it's in a turning point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Babu, and thanks to everyone who commented and contributed and asked questions. Uh, was there. Okay.
Well, if I may make just one comment about the question of prayer. In the paper that I have written on UP, I think I wrote it in 2016, of what has happened in UP. I've acknowledged the tremendous prayer background. Once again, much of the prayer happened in South India for North India through the missionary movement. And so I do record the prayer, which Operation Mobilization, French Missionary Prayer Band, GEMS, etc., did tremendous mobilization of prayer. And in the Yeshe Darbar, there was a great emphasis on fasting and prayer for a number of decades. It's not there right now. But so, yes, that background is covered in my paper, the prayer background.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you all for listening, and